kind of jammed in here. Do we have any teenagers? Teenagers, 19 years or younger, would you stand up? No cheating on this now. 19 years or younger, stand up wherever you are. All over the audience. Let's give them a hand. Hey, nice to see you. Thank you very much. I'm always flattered when the kids come. I've got a good story for you. Two little boys in school. One was very bright, the other one wasn't very bright. Teacher gave a test one day, 10 questions. And she's looking at the papers. To her surprise, the little boy who isn't very bright has answered 9 of the 10 questions. Perfect. And the teacher thought, well, that can't be right. He's not that smart. So she looked at the other paper. The little boy who was very bright, he had answered 9 of the 10 questions perfect. The teacher thought, well, something's wrong. And sure enough, the answers to the 10th question was the problem. The little boy who was very bright, when he got to the 10th question, he didn't know the answer, and he was running out of time, so he just wrote down, I don't know the answer to this one, turned his paper in. Teacher looked at the other paper, little boy who wasn't too bright, and he had answered the 10th question, I don't know either, and turned his in. Which means don't cheat, I guess, right? It never works out well. Okay. The ideas I want to share with you tonight, I started listening to at age 25, at a time in my life when I needed some additional ideas to help get my life straightened out and headed in a little better direction. I got off to a pretty good start up in Idaho farm country, where I was raised, southwestern corner of Idaho, little community of 4,000 or 5,000 people. In fact, my parents still live in the same little community where I was raised. I was just up to visit them last week. And they're doing extremely well. My father's 79, my mother's 73. And they're still very busy, very healthy, got all kinds of projects going. Unbelievable. Land development, they're making money. I can't believe them. They've been a great example for me. They bought some property not long ago, signed up for a 30-year loan. I got to be impressed. I was up to visit them last year. We had a big party one evening, lasted till about 2 o'clock in the morning, celebrating. And it was time to celebrate. My parents had bought gold at $125, and they were cashing in a big share of it at $680. And if you get to buy at $125, cash in at $680, you got to celebrate. So celebrate we did. But anyway, that's where I got started. I went to high school and graduated. I went to college for a year and a half, and I quit. Decided I was smart enough, and got me a job and went to work to see if I could make all of my ambitions come true. A couple of years later, I met a very beautiful young lady, and I put probably my finest sales presentation on her. I promised her wealth and fame and fortune and world travel and all those good things. I said it will probably be the finest decision of your life to marry me. And she bought that story, fortunately for me. And we got married, and I'm continuing to work hard to see if I can't make all these dreams and promises come true. Well, 2 or 3 years after I'd gotten married, it didn't look like my new bride had made such a wise decision. I'm now starting to struggle. I'm not destitute, but it isn't working quite like I had promised. I'm looking at my paycheck on Friday, $57, and that isn't quite what I'd promised. And already I had fallen into the someday honey routine with my wife. Right? Someday, honey, you won't have to sit on this old furniture. Someday, honey, you'll have a car of your own. I had already someday honeyed myself into trouble. Well, now I'm wondering, what should I do? I'm struggling, I'm behind. Money's one of my problems. I got far too much month at the end of the money, if you've ever had that problem. I remember one time losing a $10 bill, and I was physically ill for 2 days. Over $10. And of course my friends tried to be cheerful, right? They said, look, maybe some poor person that needed it found it. I'm willing to admit to you that that really didn't help. At age 25, benevolence had not yet seized me. You know, I'm the poor person that needs to find $10, not lose $10. But that's where I was. I thought, well, maybe I should go back to school. I've got 1 year of college, doesn't look that good on an application. But I'm 25, I'm married, now my family's starting. I'm already working. And going back to school seemed like kind of a tough decision. But that's where I was at that time in my life, wondering what I should do to really turn it around and make the promises all come true. Well, at age 25, good fortune came my way. And sometimes it's a little difficult to describe good fortune. Why do unique things happen to you when they do? I don't know. Part of that's a mystery to me. One of my friends says, well, things don't just happen. They happen just. Maybe that's it. I don't know. But my good fortune was, at age 25, I met a very remarkable man. He was a businessman. He was wealthy, apparently looked very happy, prosperous to me when I met him. And my good fortune was, a few months after I met this unique man, his name was Mr. Schoaf, Mr. Earl Schoaf. He hired me, gave me a job, and I went to work for him. And I spent the next 5 years working for him. And during that 5-year period, Mr. Schoaf shared with me his ideas that helped to change my life. Unfortunately, at the end of that 5 years, Mr. Schoaf died. But I did get to spend 5 years with this very remarkable man. And the best thing he gave me during that period of time was not a job. The best thing he gave me was the benefit of his philosophy. How to be wealthy, how to be happy. And his ideas worked for me. Then about 16, 17 years ago, I was living in Beverly Hills. And I was going through all the notes that I'd gathered up during that period. In fact, that's one of the major things Mr. Schoaf taught me. Take good notes. Don't miss anything. Don't make your mind a filing cabinet trying to remember everything. Jot it down. If you hear a good sermon, take notes. If you read a good book, take notes. If you hear something good, jot it down. If you think something good, put it on paper. Then you can go over it. Repetition is the mother of skill. And someday those ideas, if you repeat them often enough, they'll take root and start to grow. And someday they'll show up in your bank account, and your personality, and your language, and your dress, and your lifestyle. So he got me hooked on taking notes, and I did during that time, and I've taken them now all these years. And on this particular day, I was going through all those journals, and the idea occurred to me, why don't I share this with other people? I've used it to build some of my other companies, but I'd never shared it with the public. And I thought, well, that'd be an intriguing idea. See if I could put into words my feelings and my ideas that helped me to make major changes. So I thought, well, I might as well try it. So I put the material together that I thought was the most important, and 17 years ago, at the Beverly Hilton Hotel in Beverly Hills, a few blocks from where I lived, I gave my first seminar. And fortunately, tonight, you are not in on my first seminar. I struggled. It really wasn't quite that good. In fact, I'm willing to admit now it was so bad. If I hadn't have been conducting it, I'd have gone home. Right? That's how bad it was. But when you're doing them, it's hard to leave. But anyway, I struggled through it, did the best I could, and decided, well, I'll try it again, see if I get any better. Sure enough, I got a little more comfortable with making the presentation. And then I got invited other places to share my story, my ideas. And little by little, it started to grow. And finally, now it's become my major enterprise. I've arranged my other business affairs so I can spend most of my time now doing what I really like to do, and that's share ideas, talk about things that matter with people who care. And now the seminar's been translated in several languages, so I get to travel to other countries and share my feelings and my ideas with other people around the world. And tonight, I find myself in Anaheim, and I'm pleased to be here. What I would like to do is to share with you what I think made the major difference for me. I don't claim to have all the answers for doing well, but I've got some that worked for me. And what I would like to do is pass it along to you. That's the purpose of the seminar tonight, for you to pay your money and spend some of your time to be here, is to see what you think of my ideas. Just capture them, take them home, and edit them as much as you wish. Throw out what you don't like, try what you do like, and see what happens. But give me your attention for the next little while, and let's go through the ideas that I think the major things that help me to really make the changes in my life. Okay. Let me give you the table of contents first. I'm going to cover 5 subjects. Let me give you those 5, and then we'll come back and take them one at a time and we'll go through them. Okay, the first subject is personal development, which is the best place to start, right? If you don't start there, nothing much is going to happen. Here's the big challenge of life. You can have more than you've got because you can become more than you are. That's the challenge. And of course, the other side of the coin reads, unless you change how you are, you'll always have what you got. I have found in my experience that income does not far exceed personal development. Now, sometimes income takes a lucky jump, but sure enough, unless you grow out where it is, it'll usually come back where you are. Life has strange ways. If somebody hands you $1 million, best you become a millionaire quickly, so you get to keep the money. Otherwise, sure enough, it'll disappear. Somebody once said, if you took all the money in the world, divided it up equally among everybody, it would soon all be back in the same pockets. Incredible. Success is something you attract, not something you pursue. Success is looking for a good place to stay. So instead of going after it, you work on yourself. Personal development. See, the major question to ask on the job is not what are you getting? The major question to ask on the job is what are you becoming? See, the big question is not what am I getting paid here? The big question is what am I becoming here? Because true happiness is not contained in what you get. Happiness is contained in what you become. So that's our major subject for tonight, personal development. Of all the assignments Mr. Schoaf gave me at age 25, this was probably the most difficult. In fact, I'm still working on this one. I think it's an unending challenge to see what you can become. The next subject is called basic laws. And it's good to study the basics. And I call these basics primarily because they come from the Bible. Now, I'm not a theologian or a minister, and that'll be apparent. But Mr. Schoaf taught me that the Bible was a good textbook for ideas and stories and success equations, how to live the better life. I found out that was true. He also taught me that the Bible is as practical as it is spiritual, and I found out that's true. If you look at your bank account and your income and you're not happy, there are several places in the Bible to check to see what the heck's wrong so you can make the changes. And we're going to cover some of those tonight, called basics. Okay. The next subject is my favorite, setting goals. Mr. Schoaf taught me how to set goals. What a favor that was. One morning at breakfast, shortly after I met him, he said, Jim, let me see your current list of goals and let's go over them and talk about them. He said, maybe that's the best way I can help you get a better direction started. And I said, I don't have a list. He said, well, is it out in the car or home somewhere? I said, no, sir. I don't have a list anywhere. He said, well, young man, that's where we got to start. He said, I can tell you right now, if you don't have a list of your goals with you, he said, I can guess your bank balance within a few $100s. Which he did. And that got my attention. I said, you mean my bank balance would change if I had a list of goals? He said, drastically. That day I became a willing student how to set goals. And sure enough, learning how to set goals changed my life. And I often wondered why no one had ever taught me how to set goals up until age 25. I went to high school, but if they offered it, I missed it. I went to college for a year, never heard it. I worked for Sears. Really. And to my knowledge, Sears never taught it. Right? How to set goals. So here I am, age 25, married, my family's starting, I've been to college, I'm working, and I still don't know how to set goals. But fortunately, when I was 25, I met the man who taught me how, and it revolutionized my whole life. Economically, socially, personally, it's incredible. So I want to share with you tonight what Mr. Schoaf shared with me, how to set goals. It can be a life changer. Okay. The next subject is the negative part of the seminar. Life is part negative, so we got to talk about the negative. And this subject is called diseases of attitude. Diseases of attitude. There's a lot of things that can wreck your chances to do well. We live in a rather dangerous world, so you got to be not only wise, you got to be careful. Now, attitude diseases are just as bad as physical diseases, right? High blood pressure, heart trouble. I mean, a lot of things lace your chances to do well. So you've got to be careful. And attitude diseases are deadly. I mean, they'll destroy all the good things you start. Okay? So we'll go through those attitude diseases, how to spot them, how to look for them, what they are, and the cure. And I'm a pro on these because I've had them all, so I can give you excellent advice on these. Now, the last subject we're going to consider tonight is called the day that turns your life around. The day that turns your life around. And under this subject, we're going to talk about the emotions that can change your life. Human beings are emotional creatures, and emotions are powerful for life change. Now, of course, emotions are so powerful they can go either way on you. Emotions can either build or destroy. So you really have to employ emotions properly. We call civilization the intelligent management of human emotions. If you can intelligently apply your emotions in the right direction, no telling what can happen. Could turn your life around one day would be sufficient.